Hey guys, Gameboy3800 here. Once again, we're back in Beam, and it's time to finally discuss the 6x6 chassis. Yep, I've done a lot more work to it. I think I have it in a releasable status. Functionally. Visually, it's not done yet, and I don't know why. I'll talk about that later though. First of all, let's go ahead empty out the flags since they will be in the wrong spot on the new chassis. And now, give it a moment. Just take a moment to load, but after it's all in, we should be good to go. There we are. Got the 6x6 chassis with a massive 45-liter Mercedes V12. I'll talk about that in a minute too. First thing we're going to do is reset the tune because it carried over some of the old numbers from the race tune I was running before. And now, what is this truck? Well, the truck itself is black magic, but the chassis, everything like that, the engine, the suspension. Recently, like at the end of last year, I got really into looking into airplane engines and like wartime vehicles and stuff. And one of them was the Daimler-Benz series of engines used in the German Messerschmitt airplanes. I thought, that's pretty cool. And plus the huge side-mounted supercharger looked really, really cool. So I wanted to put that on a truck and make it as a standalone mod for like an engine stand. Display engine, you know? But none of these engine models existed. I actually hired someone to make it for me. MC's Design on I forget which 3D website, some 3D CG website. We worked on the project for probably 4 months before we decided it was high enough quality to meet both of our standards. Oof. So now here it is. And if you want, this engine model is now available for purchase. I don't get any money from it. It all goes to MC's Design. And it's such a cool engine model. Anyways, engine model itself aside, the engine is insane. This specific model I chose is the DB603. What does that mean? It is nearly 45 liters of displacement, inverted style V12. It is supercharged and nitrous injected. From the factory, it makes over 2,000 horsepower. And when tuned for a world record attempting car, the Mercedes T80 land speed record car, they tuned it up to over 3,000 horsepower with more nitrous and a bigger supercharger. So, that's what we can tune this thing up to. With the tuning sliders and everything we got, we can have it go quite fast. And the engine's so big, so powerful, and so heavy in real life that I knew if I wanted it to fit in anything, I would need to extend the frame. So that's what I did. Now, I have made this engine available to work in the long boy chassis from Meme Pack as well, just as a direct comparison, one to the other. But that's not what I wanted to do. I thought this thing is so heavy it needs more than just two rear suspension. Or 2 shocks at the back, and the only way to get that is, of course, to go for a multi-rear axle setup. Now I had to do quite a lot of things to get this to work. I had to extend the chassis, I had to add a second axle suspension, but then I had to learn BeamNG's silly drivetrain mechanics because in my first attempt at this, you may have seen in my early test videos, the rear axle was so fragile that anytime you did full power, it would just die. That's obviously not good. And then in another video I did, the first time you saw it like 6x6 and not just falling apart is when I figured out the 4-link brake groups. But if you notice in the video, the middle suspension bits did not compress at all. That's because it had the bottom rear 4 links connected to the bottom of the middle axle, thinking that they would help interact with each other better, but instead all that did was make the middle suspension not compress at all. It was good for wheelies, but not good for anything else. So I fixed that by having the rearmost suspension 4 links completely separate and connect to what would be a new chassis brace, but for whatever reason that doesn't spawn. There's still some things not spawning that I need to figure out. But once I finally figured that out, the suspension, the next thing I had to work on for a while was the drivetrain. Because even though all the tires looked like they were getting power, anytime we went onto the backmost tires, we would find that they don't seem to be able to put down any power at all. Like they were basically an open diff, you know? So I had to, I actually asked someone else who did a 6x6 mod, the creator of the 6x6D series. I asked him what he had to do, and he said, you gotta make it have another transfer case, because you can't just have it go off the differential and have that be fine. The game needs to have a specific split code mentioned, you know? So I added the new middle differential, and now all the tires are able to put down torque, and you saw if we probably have more speed there, or a different suspension setup, we would be able to actually do a backflip. And before you wouldn't be able to do that, and you're probably able to do a slap wheelie with enough of a rebound and enough power put down. It's hard to do though because it's so heavy. This thing weighs almost 20,000 pounds. So like almost, well, it's not exactly almost more than double, but it's definitely a lot. You can see even in the thickest of mud here, we're able to spin all the tires, and then if we activate our nitrous bottle, we can get out of it much more easily. I should find a way to make it spawn turned on by default, because that's the intended way. So as we can see, it's a pretty well-behaved mod now. It just doesn't have all the visual things I would like to have done. For instance, the new rear 4-link mounts and the steering rams, or whatever they're called, that connect the rear hydros to the funny hydraulic lines. For whatever reason, that's just not spawning for me. Even though I'm calling the model correctly and stuff, it just doesn't appear. And also, there's no specific body for this chassis yet. But now it's just able to use any CRD body, or, you know, you can select CRD or CRD3 bodies and stuff like that. So any truck without a tailgate that you can remove realistically will fit, but it may look silly. There are some more things I want to do to it. I want to add more rear sway bars so that it's more stable back there. Because just the one is not enough. In my model I've done, I have like dual sway bars for the rear axle and dual sway bars for the middle axle too, but for now that's just not implemented yet. I think that would work though, if I can figure that out. Otherwise, other things I would like to do is give it mud tires, because I found that driving it in the mud is just a ton of fun. So have it be 6 huge mud tires and going through the mud bog here would be a ton of fun. Anyways, let's see what else we can do with this chassis now that we got it here. We go over to the chassis and the suspension. The front suspension is completely normal, so if we go here, we can in fact go to like Anderson or my CRC suspension. If we go to the engine, this is not the only engine that we have available to us. We do in fact have the stock Ford and Merlin engine as well. And they need to fix the sounds because Monster Jam sounds now just sound awful with whatever they changed with the engine's like inertia. Oh yeah, the RPM might be slightly busted, so let's go ahead and fix that. Back up to 8,000 RPM with you. Now this thing weighs almost 20,000 pounds with the big engine. Probably closer to, 18,000 pounds or 17,000 pounds with the regular engine. We can see with the regular engine, it does look pretty silly because there's just so much extra space back there. It's not very fast either, but it is cool to drive around in. Rip. Likewise, we have the same kind of thing with the Merlin. It's kind of a duplicate though, so we will go to the meme pack engine. I have added the ability to give us a single Pratt & Whitney engine. The long Bluther chassis is long enough to give us 2, but this one's only long enough to give us 1, with the radiators and stuff in the back required for it. So we got this, 2,000 horsepower, a little bit less than the Daimler-Benz V12. Makes sense. This is 1830 cubic inches, and the Daimler-Benz is what, 2,700 cubic inches, so it makes sense. It's a bit less powerful. I need to give this engine custom sounds as well. Unfortunately, all like radial engine sounds that exist out there also happen to have a propeller on them, so you get more propeller sound than engine sound, and that's unfortunate. Other than that, this thing really is like, feels like it's designed for low revving, high torque engines because of how heavy it is and how long it is. They have also brought back the cameras so that it's not just more like this when you're driving. That'll be annoying. I'm going to go ahead and put this back to the Daimler-Benz engine. And I guess while we're here, I'll spawn up another truck and show that the Benz engine is also installed in the long chassis as well. And spawn up the Merlin chassis so we can see the new thing for that. If you are a participant for the last community event, you will have seen the Merlin chassis already. If we go to long, there's the long Bluther. Do I want to have that? Nah. Go to king sized. There it is. And spawn a new one of you. Does take 10 years to load because I have what, 2,000 CRD presets now. It's a bit silly. And here's the king size truck with its stock dual radials. If we go over here, we take a look. We now can add the Daimler-Benz engine. So, for a normal, quote, more normal four-wheel vehicle, this engine performs about the same, I would say. It's got less wheels to turn, so it may actually feel a little faster because it's not got its torque split up as much. But yep, here it is, in another chassis. Ouch. Does not work quite as well, I don't think. Now if we go to the Specialized Engine Mods chassis, let's take a look. Now this isn't going to be the Daimler-Benz engine in a normal size chassis, not quite. We go here, go to the engine, find a new option here. You can now install a single Pratt & Whitney radial engine into this chassis as well. It's been pretty hollowed out and it almost fits it. So, looks a bit silly. And the body I like to put on this is actually a pretty cool one. If we go all the way up top and go to the old K10 body, and we can leave it as, I think the truck's going to be called the Legend, or we can put it on the V8 Bomber skin by Skinner. Either of those will work pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and fix the front clip to be not having that bumper and clipping the front sway bars. And now we have this silly engine in a regular size chassis. We haven't been able to do that before. It is a wheelie machine. Got 5,000 foot-pounds of torque in a regular size truck, so it's just wheelies everywhere. So yep. More airplane engine fun. We have enough airplane engine options now that we could legitimately do a full event with only airplane engines. And believe me, I have thought of something fun we could do with that idea. But for now, I'll save that for when that's the time. So yeah, that's what I've done for all the big engines I've done. I put them in other chassis and I've fixed up the 6x6 chassis quite a lot. This is how the engine performs when it's allowed to rev up to its maximum RPM of about 4,000. We got a lot more boost pressure from the centrifugal blower, up to 30 psi. And if you crank the supercharger boost even more, I've seen as high as 60 psi. It's stupid. There's still some tuning things I'll fix, like the torque lock set being way too low for an engine this powerful. As well as maybe the gearing will be adjusted. But overall, like, its performance is satisfactory. I think everyone will really enjoy this engine and this 6x6 suspension setup. Like I said in an earlier video, planned release is still going to be either end of this month or beginning of next month. And I said at the time that this chassis just wasn't going to be included, but now I think it will be included, labeled as work in progress. Hopefully I'll have the model visibility things figured out. If anybody knows what's wrong, like, you know, I have the model named separate and different and new, and I have the J-beam flex bodies calling for the right thing, it just doesn't appear. So if anybody knows what's going on with that, and along with the rear steering hydro things, whatever those are called, you know, we go up front to where they are spawning. The black bars there that connect the front steering hydros, whatever those are called, they just don't appear for either rear axle. Don't know why. If you know, let me know. Anyways, that's it. I hope you all have enjoyed this preview for more pack updates. There's still work for this thing to do, and I want to add a couple more skins, but other than that, I liked its current stat. That's it for now. If you all enjoyed this big old wacky chassis thing update, then you can leave a like, favorite, comment, share, and of course don't forget to subscribe as well. Thanks, Gambia. I'll see you all in the future. What the 4 link doing?